Sometimes in the storms of life, when everyone is talking, you are silent. You are silent because your heart speaks. This is where the real miracle begins. Remember, true faith is silent, but it resonates so loudly in the sky that even the angels applaud. Maybe you were silent, maybe you waited, maybe you couldn't tell anyone what you went through. But know that behind this silent waiting, the heavens have a great answer. Today, the whisper of your faith rising to the sky will return to you as a loud victory. Get ready, write 444 in the comments. Don't just be a spectator, be a part of the story. With your support, we will become a giant family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications and join us. Because as long as you remain silent, the sky will speak for you. Now ask yourself, do you feel that this message is no coincidence? Then you are in the right place. It's a lot like living at the edge of a quiet pond in the early morning. The water looks still, but if you're paying attention, you'll notice how every little ripple under the surface tells a story. There's a strength in that calm, a depth that isn't loud or showy, but it holds steady, no matter what's stirring underneath. Most folks just see the reflection on top and think nothing's happening, but the real action, where the change, the growth, the miracles happen, that's all under the waterline, where only the patient can see. Some people move through this life almost invisible, carrying a quiet strength that most don't understand. They don't make a fuss or announce their sacrifices. While others scramble to be heard or seen, these souls know how to wait. They know how to hold their peace, not because they don't have anything to say, but because they understand timing. There's a wisdom that grows in silence. A wisdom born from knowing when to stand firm and when to let things be. Life, for these quiet warriors, is a series of hidden gardens. Every time they chose not to argue, not to defend themselves when misunderstood, they planted seeds that nobody else saw. It's like tending a field at night. You work, you sweat, you pray, and nobody claps for you, nobody even knows. But the field remembers, and in the right season, it blooms in a way that no one can ignore. There are folks out there who are always ready to fight back, to prove their point, to chase after every rumor and set the record straight. But there's another way, a higher way, that's all about patience, about trusting that God sees what others don't. When storms roll in and the winds try to shake your roots, it's not the loudest tree that stands the longest. It's the one that's been growing deep, putting down roots in the hidden places, soaking up what it needs in silence. Sometimes, when the world feels loud and everyone's rushing to make their mark, the greatest power is in holding steady, like a mountain that doesn't move when the clouds swirl around it. That's not weakness, that's wisdom in action. That's knowing your value doesn't depend on applause or agreement. It's found in the still, small voice inside, the voice that knows who you are even when no one else is watching. And make no mistake, there are seasons when it hurts to stay silent. There are days when misunderstanding feels like a weight, when it would be easier to explain, to defend, to lash out just to get a little relief. But those who walk this path have learned something precious. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some storms are best waited out, not confronted. Some accusations are best left to God to answer, not you. It's a lot like being a lighthouse keeper. Night after night, you tend the flame, sometimes in the teeth of a storm, sometimes with the wind howling so hard it rattles the windows. Most people only see the light in the distance, never knowing how many dark nights you stayed up, how many lonely hours you kept watch, trusting that someone, somewhere, would need that light to find their way. And what about the times when you wanted to shout back, to set the record straight? That's human. But grace whispers, let it be. The truth doesn't need defending. It will stand when all the noise has faded. Every time you let your peace guard your heart instead of anger, you are building a kind of courage the world doesn't celebrate. But heaven does. Don't just read the stories, experience them. Subscribe and step inside. These are the souls who know what it means to build a life from the inside out. They know the power of a kind word held back, the strength of a prayer whispered in secret, the quiet authority that grows from surrender. They've learned to trust God's timing, to believe that what's done in the dark will be rewarded in the light. Their stories aren't always headline news, but when the time comes, the fruit of their endurance is impossible to ignore. In a world that loves quick fixes and overnight success, these quiet ones are like the slow river that shapes a canyon. Day by day, year by year, their faith carves out a legacy that lasts. They don't need to rush because they know that real change, the kind that lasts, never happens in a hurry. It takes time. It takes faith. It takes the willingness to keep showing up, even when no one notices. You see, every act of patience, every decision to forgive instead of fight, every silent prayer is like a stone added to a foundation. Nobody celebrates the foundation. It's buried. But when the winds rise and the storms hit, it's the foundation that holds everything up. That's what quiet strength does. It keeps you standing when others fall. Let me tell you, there are blessings that only show up for those who know how to wait. There are doors that open not because you knocked the loudest, but because you learned how to be still. When others rushed ahead, you stayed steady. When others looked for shortcuts, you stayed faithful. And in that faithfulness, something holy began to grow. It's like watching the first light of dawn break after a long night. The darkness tries to linger, but it can't stop the morning. That's the reward for those who keep going quietly, faithfully, without fanfare. The day comes and suddenly everything is different. The things you carried in silence become your testimony. The pain you endured becomes wisdom you can pass on. And when your moment arrives, because it will, people may wonder where you came from. They'll see the fruit, but they'll never know the roots. They won't understand the cost, the discipline, the times you wanted to give up but didn't. But you'll know. And God knows. That's the power of a quiet journey. It prepares you for blessings you didn't even know how to pray for. So if you're walking that hidden road, don't be discouraged. Don't let the noise of the world shake your peace. Your patience is doing more than you can see. Your faithfulness is building something unshakable. And when the season shifts, you won't have to announce yourself. The harvest will speak for you. Maybe you feel invisible now. Maybe it looks like nothing's changing. But the deepest work always happens where eyes can't see. Stay true. Stay gentle. Let the world rush by if it must. Your reward is being prepared in the quiet places. When it comes, it won't be small. It will be more than you can contain. You were never overlooked. You were being made strong for what's ahead. That stillness, that patience, it's your superpower. It's what sets you apart. And in the right moment, that quiet strength will become the foundation for a new chapter, one where every hidden sacrifice is honored and every secret prayer is answered in ways you never expected. So keep tending your garden, keep watching the pond, keep tending the light. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, right on the edge of something beautiful. The world may not see it, but heaven is watching. And your quiet journey is about to become a story worth telling for generations to come. Think of an old oak tree through a long, silent winter. Above the ground, all you see is bare branches and empty air, but beneath, the roots are growing deeper and stronger with every chilly sunrise. It's quiet work, nobody's cheering for roots. Yet when spring finally comes, the tree explodes with green, and only then does the world realize what's been happening in secret all along. That's what it's like. The discipline of waiting and the unseen sacrifices nobody else even knows about. It takes a rare kind of courage to keep going when applause is nowhere to be found. Most people won't ever see the hours you spent staying faithful, the decisions you made to hold your peace, or the late nights you poured out prayers instead of complaints. But let me tell you, just because something is invisible doesn't mean it's wasted. In fact, that hidden obedience is where real power starts. There's an energy building in the quiet places. I've seen it in the lives of folks who never made a big scene, who didn't shout about their struggles or try to put their pain on display. These are the people who learned how to bite their tongue, how to give up their right to be right, how to serve others even when it cost them dearly. It's a kind of strength that isn't loud or flashy, but you can feel it when you're around them. It's in their steady eyes, their gentle words, the way they keep showing up even when nobody's watching. A lot of people count progress by how much noise they can make, by how fast they can get attention, by who claps for them or gives them a title. But in the grand design of things, the deepest shifts happen below the surface, far from the crowd's approval. That's where destinies are shaped, not by the easy wins, but by the tough choices nobody else sees. Sometimes you're doing work that looks pointless to everybody else. Maybe you're forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it, or you're helping out when you could be doing something for yourself. Maybe you're just refusing to give in to bitterness, even though you'd have every right to be angry. That's not wasted effort. That's you building a foundation in the spirit, a platform that will hold up a whole new chapter when the time comes. What the world calls silence, God sees as planting. Each quiet decision to trust instead of panic, to love instead of hate, to wait instead of rush, is a seed going into good soil. You can't see what's happening underground, but those seeds are alive, taking root, getting ready for the day when they burst through and change everything. And when they do, it'll be a surprise to everybody who thought nothing was happening. It's a little like a quilt your grandmother used to sew. She'd sit by the fire, stitching one square at a time, long after everyone else went to bed. No one really noticed until one day she held up this beautiful patchwork, warm, strong, made to last. That's what your quiet sacrifices are doing. Piece by piece, prayer by prayer, you're building a legacy that will outlast the noise of this world. You see, the loudest storms can shake the house, but they can't move the foundation if it's been laid right. And the strongest foundations are always built in the silence. Deep, slow, steady, out of sight. Maybe you feel overlooked or underestimated because you don't draw attention to yourself, but what you're carrying on the inside is bigger than you know. The world may never hand you a trophy for it, but God has seen every little thing, every sacrifice, every secret yes you gave when nobody else knew the price. I want you to know, there's nothing wasted in waiting. The discipline to hold back, to keep believing when the answer seems slow, is storing up a blessing that's coming at just the right time. When you feel like you're standing still, when it seems like your prayers have disappeared into the air, remember that old oak tree. Its best work happens when nobody's looking. One day, the world will see the results of everything you've been building in secret. The very people who thought you were wasting your time will be shocked by how quickly your life turns around. The blessings will come, not because you chased them, but because you were faithful when it was hardest. That's how God works. He honors what's done in secret. He rewards those who keep the faith, even when it feels like nothing's moving. Sometimes the reward isn't just for you. It spills out to your children, your family, your whole community. The strength you built in the quiet will hold up more lives than just your own. You may not see the full picture right now, but you can trust that every small act of faithfulness is making a difference. And when that breakthrough comes, it won't be a trickle, it'll be a flood. Doors will open that you couldn't have forced open on your best day. Relationships will heal. Opportunities will show up out of nowhere. People who overlooked you before will wonder where all this blessing came from. But you'll know, it started in the quiet, in the waiting, in the small, everyday choices to do what's right even when nobody saw it. So don't get discouraged if your life feels quiet right now. Don't be fooled into thinking that your waiting is a waste. The most beautiful gardens spend a long time under the dirt before anyone gets to see a single flower. The river that shapes the canyon does its best work slowly, patiently, drop by drop, year after year. It's the same with your journey. Keep trusting, keep planting, keep believing that what you're doing in secret matters. The day is coming when everything you've poured out in silence will come back to you in abundance. The world may count success by what's visible, but heaven keeps a different score. And let me tell you, the scoreboard is about to light up in your favor. You don't need to force it, you don't need to explain yourself, and you definitely don't need to make a show. Just stay steady. Just keep tending the roots. The harvest that's coming is going to leave people speechless. And when it does, you'll be able to say with a full heart, it was worth every quiet moment. It was worth every invisible sacrifice. God saw it all, and He never forgets. That's how miracles are born. Deep, quiet, slow. That's how destinies turn. The world won't see it coming, but you will have known all along, because you trusted the process, you honored the waiting, and you believed that even in silence, you were moving closer to everything you've been promised. So breathe deep. Hold steady. There's a season coming where all the roots you've grown in silence will bear fruit for everyone to see. And when that happens, you won't have to say a word. Your life will speak for itself, a living testimony to the quiet power of faith, patience, and God's unfailing reward. Picture a stone mason, quietly working before sunrise, his only company the sound of his hammer and the songbirds greeting the day. While most people rush to finish quick work, he labors with care, laying each stone so true and steady that generations will one day walk safely over his bridge. You'd never know by looking at him that he's building something that will outlast any passing crowd. That's what it's like to carry silent endurance. The real work often happens in places no spotlight ever reaches. It's funny how folks will measure a life by what gets celebrated, what's talked about, what makes a splash. But God sees things differently. He knows who's been quietly faithful when no one else cared. He knows about all those quiet choices to keep showing up, keep giving, keep loving, even when no one ever said thank you. That's a treasure more precious than gold, a strength that can't be broken by life's storms. You see, the world loves a parade, but heaven honors the gardener who toils in spring while others are still asleep. There's a kind of holiness in persistence, in not needing the applause, in letting your heart be led by something deeper than what's visible. That's how legacy is built, slowly, day by day, in the hidden work that nobody celebrates, yet everyone depends on. Legends, miracles, prophecies. Subscribe to see what history forgot. Sometimes the quiet ones are mistaken for being unimportant, just because they don't clamor for attention. But let me tell you, God uses these quiet ones to build foundations strong enough to hold whole families, whole communities together. Every act of steady faith, every time you chose forgiveness over anger, every time you stood strong instead of lashing out, was another stone set in place for those who'll come after you. There's a real beauty in a life lived for something bigger than the moment. When you keep doing right, even when it goes unnoticed, you're like a candle burning in a dark window, sending out hope to anyone lost in the night. Others may be too busy looking for their name in lights to notice, but you're building something more valuable, a quiet testimony that will shine long after the noise dies down. The truth is, it takes more courage to walk the quiet road than to chase after every trend. When the world is busy keeping score by likes and followers, it's easy to feel overlooked. But every unseen sacrifice, every patient yes to God's call, is laying down a beam strong enough to carry the dreams of your children, your grandchildren, and even strangers who'll never know your name. And maybe it feels like nobody understands the burden you carry. Maybe you've wondered if your efforts matter, if your steady love and faithful prayers are just dropping into the void. But don't be fooled by silence. The quiet work you do is building a shelter for someone else's storm. The kindness you show when no one is watching is becoming a safe haven for souls you haven't even met yet. Life sometimes feels like building with bricks under a heavy rain. Slow, muddy, thankless. But what you're doing is sacred. God is watching every stone you lay, every tear you wipe, every burden you lift. You may feel small, but your impact is eternal. Think of a quilt made by hand, every patch a memory, every stitch a prayer. Nobody may ever see the hours spent, but when the cold comes, it's that quiet, steady work that keeps the whole house warm. Your discipline, your patience, your faithfulness, these are the threads weaving a legacy that will last longer than any headline. There's a wisdom that only grows in quiet places, a strength that can only be found in surrender. When you choose to trust God with your story instead of writing your own ending, something miraculous happens. You're no longer tossed around by every wave of public opinion. You become like an anchor for those around you, a steady presence when the world feels shaky. It's not about how many people know your name. It's about how many lives are quietly changed because you chose the higher road. The sacrifices you made, the prayers you prayed in the dark, the love you gave without expecting anything back. These are the real treasures, the unbreakable riches stored up in the heart of heaven. And one day, the fruits of all this unseen labor will blossom. The children who grew up watching your patience, the friends who found comfort in your steady care, the neighbors who never forgot your kindness, they're all part of your legacy. You may never get a trophy for it, but heaven is keeping a record, and not a single effort will be forgotten. You don't have to shout about what you're building. When the time is right, God will reveal what's been growing in the dark. You'll see how your faithfulness became a lifeline for someone lost, how your endurance became a bridge over troubled waters for those who came after you. So if you feel unnoticed, unappreciated, or unseen, remember the mason, remember the candle, remember the hand-stitched quilt. You're building what really matters. Keep steady. Keep showing up. The quiet life you're living is shaping futures you can't even imagine. Let the world run after quick victories. Let others chase the applause. Your silent obedience is setting the stage for blessings that will outlast the noise, for miracles that will bless generations. When the storm passes and the crowds move on, your foundation will still be standing, strong, steady, and shining with the quiet glory of a life well lived, a race run with patience, a heart poured out for something greater than yourself. Stay faithful in the small things. Keep your heart open, your spirit gentle, your hands willing. The legacy you're building will outshine anything this world can offer. And when all is said and done, your quiet strength will be the reason someone else finds the courage to keep going, to hope again, to trust in the unseen goodness that only God can measure. It's a lot like the slow miracle of bread rising on a quiet kitchen counter. No one stands around watching dough for hours, but beneath the cloth, away from the hurry and the noise, something powerful is happening. The yeast works quietly, changing the whole loaf from the inside out, preparing it for the heat that will turn it golden. Only patience can bring out the true flavor, a lesson the world rarely has time to learn, but the wise carry in their hearts. That's how it goes with the mysteries of revelation, with the slow unveiling of purpose and blessing. The crowd's impatience has never moved the hand of God. Instead, the deepest changes happen far from the center stage. While others may clamor for instant answers, the ones who've weathered storms in silence, who've chosen forgiveness when nobody was watching, know a different kind of waiting. They understand there's a timing that doesn't run on any clock the world can read. Sometimes life feels like standing on the front porch at dawn, the whole neighborhood still asleep, only the birds and the breeze to witness your thoughts. Those quiet hours aren't wasted. That's where the strongest roots grow, out of sight, beneath the surface. Each heartbreak quietly forgiven, every embarrassment endured without protest, is like a river cutting a new path through the earth. It happens slowly, sometimes so quietly you might forget it's even happening, but over time, it shapes everything. We're taught to believe that every good thing should arrive on cue, that blessings should line up the moment we're ready. But real transformation never follows a schedule. It moves according to the ripeness of the heart, the secret readiness that only God can measure. You can't rush what's meant to last. There's a geometry to grace, a careful mapping that takes into account every detour, every heartbreak, every step that looked like a delay but was really a hidden shortcut. You might look back and see all the times you felt invisible, all the chapters you lived with nobody else reading along, and wonder if anything mattered at all. But God was writing those pages in invisible ink. The world can't read them, but heaven has a copy. Every private moment of obedience, every time you bit your tongue or held on to hope against the odds, was building a path that only you could walk. The day is coming when what was hidden will step into the sun, fully formed and undeniable. There are seasons when it seems like the world is passing you by, when everyone else gets their moment in the spotlight while you're still working in the shadows. It's tempting to wish for your own trumpet, to announce your pain or your progress. But the most powerful shifts often happen in silence. The day lilies don't trumpet their arrival, they just appear overnight, in fields no one expected, because all the work happened underground. It's in the discipline of holding back, of trusting the process, that your life becomes a living parable. You start to see that not every wound needs to be explained, not every blessing needs a parade. Sometimes the greatest turn comes quietly, like the changing of a tide you only notice when the boats begin to move. There's a beauty in letting your story unfold at its own pace, in trusting that what's meant for you won't miss you, even if the world can't see the path. Think about a farmer who sows seed and waits for the rain. He doesn't dig up the field every morning to check if the roots have started. He trusts the process, believes in the quiet work beneath the soil. That's what endurance looks like, doing your part, then resting in the knowledge that God will do His. For every moment you held your peace when you could have fought back, a harvest was taking root. And when that breakthrough finally comes, it won't be rushed or half-formed. It'll be right on time, just like the loaf that comes out of the oven golden and ready. The ones who watched you struggle will be stunned by the suddenness of your rising, but you'll know it was anything but sudden. Every silent chapter, every unseen sacrifice, was part of the recipe. It's easy to feel like your story is being written in the margins, like you're waiting for your chance to be called to the center of the page. But the truth is, God saves the most powerful plot twists for the pages only the Spirit can read. There are moments that arrive with no warning, gifts that appear on the doorstep of your waiting, blessings tailor-made for the patient and the faithful. You may not get an announcement, a headline, or a fanfare, but you will get a peace that the world can't manufacture. You'll wake up one morning and realize the mountain you were climbing is now under your feet. And those who only measured success by noise and attention will have no words for what they see, because you were busy building something in secret. There's a certain freedom that comes with letting go of other people's timelines. You stop living for the next applause, and start living for the quiet, steady approval that only God can give. Suddenly, you find you're less concerned about who's watching, and more focused on becoming the kind of person who's ready for the blessings when they come. If you've spent years waiting, don't let impatience steal your joy. The quiet seasons are sacred. The world may tell you that nothing is happening, but God says otherwise. He's building something in you, something so solid that it doesn't need a stage. When the time is right, your story will unfold in a way that blesses not just you, but everyone around you. So keep tending your dough. Keep waiting for the bread to rise. Trust that what's happening in silence is bigger than what's being celebrated in the streets. When the page turns, when your moment arrives, it will be worth every hidden sacrifice, every silent night, every humble prayer that nobody else heard. Let your life be a testimony to the power of God's timing. Let patience be your anthem and quiet strength your signature. Because when the revelation comes, when the waiting is over and the blessings break forth, it will be so sweet, so satisfying, that all the delays will finally make sense. And you'll look back and see that the real miracle was never the arrival, but all that was growing in secret, while you trusted and waited, one silent chapter at a time. Patience is a lot like a well-tended lamp in the night. The flame burns slow and steady, not wasting oil with wild flickers or careless bursts. The lamp keeper doesn't panic when the wind rattles the windows or when darkness presses hard against the glass. Instead, he checks the wick, shields the flame, and trusts that dawn will come, no matter how long the night may feel. This kind of waiting isn't about sitting still, it's about staying faithful, protecting your light, and refusing to let passing troubles burn out what's precious. In a world that's always urging us to act fast and speak first, real patience can feel like swimming upstream. The urge is strong to defend yourself, to correct the rumors, to clap back just so folks know you're not a pushover. But those who've walked with God for any length of time will tell you, there's a better way. There's a higher wisdom in holding your tongue, in letting some battles pass by, in choosing peace when anger feels justified. It's not that you don't feel the sting. Of course you do. It's just that you've learned not every feeling deserves a response. It's like keeping water in a bucket during a drought. You don't spill it just because you're thirsty for revenge. You know that your energy is sacred, your spirit too precious to waste on things that won't matter a year from now. You begin to realize that every time you walk away from a fight you could have won, you're really winning something greater inside yourself. That's the difference between reacting and responding. The world is full of folks who react, quick, loud, all heat and no light. But responding takes courage, and it takes maturity. It means you've decided that your peace is more valuable than proving a point. You might look weak to the world, but in truth, you're becoming stronger than ever. You're choosing to build a legacy, not just a reputation. And here's the miracle of it. The victories that come from patience are always richer, always deeper, always sweeter than the victories that come from force. They arrive quietly, like rain soaking into thirsty ground after a long dry spell. People may not notice right away, but sooner or later, they'll see the flowers blooming, the fruit ripening, and they'll wonder how it happened. You'll know it was the harvest of all those quiet moments when you could have lashed out, but chose to trust instead. There's no substitute for patience shaped by faith. The world may never understand it, but the rewards are real. When your breakthrough arrives, you'll know it came not from pushing, but from trusting, from building quietly and faithfully in the waiting time. That's the secret. In God's timing, quiet strength always wins the day. It is in the deep chambers of inner resolve that transformation gathers. When every outward sign urges for quick reactions, there exists a counterintuitive wisdom, a calm that preserves what truly matters. The art of holding one's truth with dignity, not spilling precious insight to those who would trample it, is a discipline as rare as gold. It is not a punishment to wait, nor a weakness to be hidden. Sometimes, waiting is a shield. Sometimes, silence is the only fertile ground where the future can take root. There are times when every urge pushes for explanation, when misunderstandings sting and stories spread beyond one's reach. In these hours, the world expects a spectacle, a defense, a fight. But to step back, to let rumors roll by, to trust the quiet work of integrity, is to unlock a strength no accusation can touch. The inner rooms of the spirit become a forge, making character out of what could have been bitterness, turning every moment of restraint into raw material for breakthrough. The real shifts in life happen beyond the sightline of spectators. Elevation does not come by way of popular demand, but by the unseen mathematics of character. When change finally arrives, it seems sudden only to those who missed the years of preparation. A life lived in the shadows of discipline becomes, in time, a landmark that no one can deny. Invitations appear from places never sought. Opportunities spring from seeds planted in forgotten soils. No publicist can claim the credit for what is fashioned in secret. Are you a story lover or a truth seeker? Subscribe and be both. At the end of such a journey, it becomes clear, what looked like losing was only the beginning of a harvest. The very moments spent holding back, the private decisions to nurture hope rather than despair, now rise as a new dawn, startling even the most skeptical. Old accusations fade, replaced by the fragrance of outcomes that cannot be argued away. Joy emerges, bewildering those who calculated defeat. The unveiling is not loud, but it is absolute, moving with an authority that comes only from the unseen work of quiet seasons. There's no regret for the hidden days, no longing to reverse the years of waiting. The gift of a quiet journey is this: everything that seemed delayed is now perfectly timed, and every step taken in the absence of applause has set the stage for a story that is unmistakably unique. The foundation, laid in silence, supports a future that no storm can uproot. The truest strength is not in noise or spectacle, but in the invisible roots that hold firm beneath the surface, waiting for the day when all is made clear. And as this new chapter opens, the wisdom remains. Continue moving with quiet conviction. There is no need to shout. The very path that brought you here will carry you further, powered by an inner certainty no outside force can shake. The story is not finished. The most profound movements are often the ones that begin without warning, in the quiet soil of a willing heart.